So the next thing we're going to be talking about are keys. When you're writing out a piece of music, like I talked about earlier, you have your sharps and your flats. There was a particular sign I did leave out. This sort of dude, he looks kind of funny. That's called a natural sign. I'll explain it more in depth right now, but actually that's a really bad looking natural sign. Let me see how this thing looks. I can draw a better natural sign out here for you. Looks more like this, sort of. I'll explain that in a little bit. But if you're writing out a piece of music and you have a lot of consistently sharped, notes, it'd be really annoying to have to write it out every time. Sharp, whatever, however many measures later, sharp. So what musicians do is they use keys. And keys are based off of scales, which I'll explain some other time. I haven't explained scales yet. They're kind of hard to learn. So I'll explain them later. But you have different keys that are designated up here. And so based off of the key that you're playing, you'll know which notes are sharped, which notes are flatted, and things like that. So the reason that you see a natural, so let me explain how keys work real quick. So when you're using sharps in a key, the way that they work is let's use the key of G real quick. So you take this is your key. This is how your key is being designated right now. That sharp is on an F. What you do is you raise it a half step. So F sharp, you raise it a half step, and G. So you're in the key of G major. So what this means is that every F in this song or in this piece is going to be sharped. However, sometimes in some pieces of music, you do have times where like you have an F, but they don't want it to be sharped. They want it to be a normal F. It's not part of the key, but they want it to be a normal F. And so what they do to designate that is that they'll draw that natural sign that I was talking about earlier. This guy right here, to designate that this is a natural F. It's not a sharp F. It's not a sharped F. It's a natural F. So this is G major. The next sharp would then be on C. So now we have two sharps. What we do is we take the sharp closest to the right, which is C sharp, raise that up a half step. That would then be D instead of C sharp, and now we're in the key of D major. And what this means is that every F and every C in this piece is going to be sharped. And so we have the thing called the order of sharps and the order of flats. The order of flats I'm going to write out right now because it's the easier one to remember. B, G, C, F. This is the order of flats. I'll explain this better momentarily. Order of flats. And then the order of sharps is the same as the order of flats, but backwards. So F, C, G, D, A, E, B. Order of sharps. So if you've been paying attention, this has been F, this has been C. So the next sharp, if we want to take, instead of being in D major, we add another G. We have a G sharp right here, right? So that's G sharp. G sharp up a half step is A. So now we're in A major, the key of A major. So every F, every C, and every G would be sharped in this piece. It kind of just works like that. So if you had, let's say E is actually a trickier one. So G, let's do D right here, D and then A, and then it would be E up here. So we have E sharp. We raise that up a half step, but remember E sharp is F. So we're at F instead of E sharp. It's the same thing. E sharp is F. And we raise F up a half step and we're at F sharp. So instead of being at, F major, we're at F sharp major because of that connection in between E and F. So you don't have, E sharp, that's F. So E sharp right here is F. And instead of being in whatever major, we're in F sharp major, as opposed to like F major. And the next one after that would be C. But when you're in when you're in C sharp, when you're in the key of C sharp, everything is sharped. So like when you're in the key of C, nothing is sharped or flatted. When you're in the key of C sharp, everything is sharp or flat. Everything is sharp, not flat. Sorry. This is how you tell a key when it's being flatted, right? So you have these dudes right here, and let me redraw these lines because they're all sloppy looking. So the first flat would be B. So when you have a B flat right here, what you do is, well, first I have to explain this. When there's only one flat in a piece, you're in F, right? Okay, so what you do, so the next flat after B would be E, right? So you draw E out there. And what you do when you're talking about flats and you're trying to figure out what key you're in, you take the second to last flat. So in this case, E is our first flat. This would be our second to last flat. B. What you do is you flatten it a half step. And so from B, you flat that, you have B flat, and now we're in the key of B flat major. So you kind of just keep doing that. So our next one would be A right here. And now our second to last flat is E. So we flatten that, E, E flat. Now we're in the key of E flat major. Sorry, I don't have to write flat because I just wrote it right there. E flat major. And so that's how it works when you're trying to figure out what key you're in using flats. So the next thing I'm going to point out is that in a particular piece of music you have, measures. So you'll have whatever notes are in here, blah, 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 and measures are separated by lines. So if this were one line of music, let's pretend that this is a musical piece for a second, we'd have the three measures. Right now we're in the key of E flat major, so all of these would be flatted. Our A, our E, and our B would all be flatted. But like I said earlier, if you don't want, let's say we don't want our E to be flatted for whatever reason, we draw that natural sign. Right here, this dude. So what happens when you draw a natural sign is that E is no longer flat, it's just regular E. So every other E in this particular measure would also be natural. So when you draw, whenever you draw a natural sign or a sharp sign or a flat sign within a measure, that natural or that flat applies to every note within that measure. So this natural sign would apply to every E within this measure. So now let's go into the key of C, C natural, C major. No sharps, no flats, no nothing. Everything's natural. So if I wanted this instead of being a natural flat, I wanted it to be a sharp flat. Sorry, not a sharp flat, a flat E, because you don't have a sharp E, your sharp E would be F. So if I want this E to be flat, every E within this measure would be flatted as well. If, let's say, I have C instead of E, right? So this is C. If I wanted this C to be sharped, if I wanted this C to be sharped, every C within this measure would be sharped as well. So this C would be sharped, this wouldn't be sharped because that's F, but this other C would be sharped. So that's how naturals, flats, and sharps work when you're using them in a piece of music. First, you look at your key. Your key tells you what's sharp, what's flat, what's normal, and then sometimes if they're going out of the key, they'll have a sharp or a flat or a normal sign, a natural sign, and that natural sharper flat sign applies to every note within that measure. Every C, whatever note it's being used on, every C within that measure would then be sharped, or whatever.